Well, hi, friends. It's me, Pastor Michelle. And I just wanted to take time to just say thank you for being with us today in worship. I am currently on vacation, but I wanted to take an opportunity to make a video where I summarize as best as I can what General Synod was like. For the service today, you have sang 3 different songs that were sung at 3 different services throughout this past week at Synod, and you got to hear a little bit about the Open and Affirming Coalition, the annual conference that I went to. Actually, you will get to hear that. I think that comes after this video. You'll hear a video about that right before the offering. But I thought, even while I'm not at church and even when I'm on vacation, I thought it would be really good to just give you a short summary of everything that happened in these last 5 days at General Synod. So buckle up. I won't be more than 2-3 hours. There was a lot of stuff to cover, but I'm going to try to keep it in a really in a short and sweet thing, because I have been posting. If you follow me on Facebook, I have been keeping up with trying to keep everyone updated on everything that happens in the plenaries, especially all the resolutions that were made. And I'm not going to go into detail about each resolution. That would take some time. But what I wanted to do to start us off, though, is some of you may be wondering exactly what is Synod. So this year, General Synod for the United Church of Christ, which is our denomination, it was held in Kansas City, and it was in Kansas City, Missouri, and it was July 11th through the 16th. The theme for this year's General Synod was a little deeper. Is that the actual theme? Get deeper. I can't remember the exact one, but it's inspired by the passage from Luke 5:4, which is a very short passage, and John was very disappointed I didn't give him a really, really long passage. But in that passage, we find Jesus telling Peter to cast the net into the deeper waters. So it's all about going deeper this week. What does that look like with our faith? And if you're wondering exactly what General Synod is, so General Synod of the UCC is the national decision-making body for the denomination, responsible for giving general direction and missionary and ideas for general direction and missionary and justice programs of the UCC. And the UCC, our denomination, holds to an explicitly congregational polity, meaning that every church has full autonomy to govern and be how they want to be. And so any decisions made by the Synod are not binding upon the UCC's congregations, or even its associations and conferences in any way. So the national offices in the UCC's Constitution and bylaws expect serious consideration to be given to what's decided at Synod, but churches are not held accountable in a way where they have to follow through with what is being done at Synod. And so the Synod itself is composed of delegates, either clergy or non-clergy, so lay members from all the different conferences of the UCC, and it's apportioned in a manner similar to states in the United House of Representatives, with each conference assigned a minimum of 3 delegates, regardless of its membership size, as a proportion of the national membership. The national bylaws permit a minimum of 675 delegates from all conferences, but no more than 725. And I think we had I don't remember the exact number, but it was at least 675 delegates this year. And so there was a lot, maybe even 681. But those are just some of, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the exact way that the Synod, the structural makeup of Synod, but I was there as a delegate. This was my 4th time being a delegate and my 5th time attending Synod. And I love going to Synod because Synod is such a beautiful representation of what our denomination is all about. Because as a whole, yes, congregations have full autonomy and they can be however they wish to be. They can be as progressive as they want, or even be as conservative as they want. And as I will share in my Open and Affirming video for offering, actually only about 30 to 40% of churches in the UCC, which there are about 4,800 congregations in the UCC, only about 30% are open and affirming. And so that means a lot of churches are not open and affirming. In our denomination as a whole, at the national level, we're very progressive, very justice leaning. And that's, I will say, what I love about Harmony, what I love about our faith community, is that I feel like we are a representative of the denomination of which we belong. We really line up with the values and what the national level, what they are passionate about. And so I wanted to just kind of categorize all my thoughts and as much as I can into one little neat, maybe not so neat, but one little thing. And I want to focus on into the deep. That I had to read that was the theme. And I wanted us to think about what it means, because I've talked about this before, but what does it mean to move from being merely a safe church, which is important, move from being a safe church to being a brave church. And so I love the quote, a ship in a harbor is safe, but that's not what ships are built for. Ships are built to go out into the water, go out into the deep. And that's what we are, I think, are called to do, go out and go deeper with our faith, go deeper with our witness to the outside world, right? To people outside of us. And in Harmony Creek, we do that really well. But I do want to share just a little bit of how the UCC shows up. So there was 2 protests at least, and 2 public witness events that was held in these last 5 days. There was one that we did where we protested against a bill, that the big, beautiful bill that was passed. We protested against it last week, and then there was a protest today or yesterday. The days run together. But there was another protest standing up for the rights of trans people, and that was today. That was today. Yeah. Or no, it was yesterday. Sorry. All the days run together. Maybe I should have waited a day to make this video, because I'm very tired after all these days, because this is definitely not a vacation. It is a lot of work to be a delegate, because you're in meetings from sun up to sundown. But that's one way the UCC is a brave denomination. We are a brave denomination. We are, and one of the other things that they talked a lot about during this time was how we are out there, and we are very active in DC, standing up against bills and protesting and speaking truth to power. We are doing all that stuff, and we're not only doing it in our country, but we're also doing a lot to help with other countries. We have a lot of global partners, and we're out helping in other countries as best as we can, but not just helping, not just going in and with a savior complex, but we actually partner with people in other countries. And I think that's a beautiful thing. But I want to let me just share like some of the highlights, because there's so much that I could say. But one of the things about the UC, so General Synod, during General Synod, they have at least 3 worship services. They have 8 plenaries, and plenaries are 2.5 hour long business meetings where we conduct the business of the church. We vote on resolutions. We vote in new candidates for offices. We vote on the financial statement. There's a lot, and there's 8 plenaries, and they're spread out through the 5 days. Like yesterday we had 3 plenaries, and today we had 2. And the plenaries, during these plenaries, we do a lot of the work of the church. And Karen Georgia Thompson, who is our general minister and president, she really delivered a lot of great messages. And her big thing is she's really trying to encourage us to be a big tent church, be a big tent denomination. And that means we're inviting everyone under the tent, and even recognizing that even people who don't agree with us, they're under the tent with us. And that couldn't have been more present. And so as a delegate, I was assigned a committee, which the committees are responsible for the resolutions that come before the Synod floor. And these resolutions are public witness statements that we as a church make. And they are always leaning, they always reflect historically a more liberal theological and political perspective. Like this was a year, 40 years ago, it was the 40-year anniversary of the UCC being an open and affirming denomination. It was 40 years ago that the UCC declared themselves a just peace church. So those two things were really celebrated this year at Synod. But Karen Georgia, our president, is really big into trying to expand the table. And so the resolution I was a part of was with the Puerto Rico church, an evangelical Puerto Rico church. And it was called EUDR, Evangelical Unidad something. I can't remember the exact name. But there was a lot of debate when we talked about this resolution, when we were getting it ready to send to the Synod floor, because that's what the work of the committee does. And one of the biggest things is that this denomination, this faith body, this faith community in Puerto Rico, they left the UCC as a partner about 20 years ago. And now they're coming back. And the thing is, they left for many reasons, but one of the reasons was because of our stance on marriage equality. And there was a lot of people just really scared of us partnering up with a denomination that doesn't support the Q+ community. A lot of fear. But at the end of the day, we decided to partner up with them. We decided to begin to continue these conversations with them, invite them to the table. And the thing is, and I will just share a little bit of history, that Karen Georgia said that we are actually like ministry partners with other denominations. Like we are with the PCUSA, Presbyterian Church of the United States of America. We're also partnered with the Evangelical Lutheran Church, and then we're partnered with the Reformed Churches of America. And we partnered with them years and years ago. And at the time that we partnered with them, none of those, besides the UCC, none of them had any positive statements about the Q+ community. But over time, PCUSA has come out in support of the Q+ community and Evangelical Lutheran. But the Reformed Churches of America still hasn't come out in support of the Q+ community. But we're still at the table with them. And that is that's what I love about Synod, because you're in a room full of so many different people with from so many walks of life. And sometimes and that resolution, by the way, about Puerto Rico was passed. I don't know if I said that, but what is always, it's messy to be the church. That's what I was thinking about, like going deep into our faith and being a brave space means like that it's going to be messy. It's not going to be easy. There were so many plenaries. There was at least 2 or 3 where there was a resolution that was sent to the floor or something to be voted on, and there was so much debate. We did one where it was all about denouncing persecution in Palestine, genocide, and there was a lot of debate on that, because that is a hard topic, because you side with Palestine and then you're siding against Israel. I mean, there was an hour of debate. But as I was watching, and that resolution passed, but people going back and forth, and they felt like they could. Because being the church, being brave, means being in uncomfortable spaces. And it was uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable, all the back and forth, all the debating and all the arguments, or not arguments, but because the way it works, a resolution's put to the floor, you hear about the resolution, and then there's a time for people to speak to the resolution. And the Palestine one, there were several people speaking to that. There were several amendments that people wanted to add to that resolution. And at the end of the day, it passed, but after over an hour of debate, because there's different stations. You go, if you are for the resolution, you go to one mic. If you're against it, you go to one. And what I loved is that many of these debates and our young kids, the youth, were going up to the mics and speaking to it. And I love that. But that's one of the things I think about what it means to be a brave space, to be a brave church, that you're willing to go a little bit deeper. You're willing to sit at the table with people who don't agree with you. There was, and that's what I see happening at Synod over and over again, that we're not just a uniform body of people who all believe the same things. That'd be very boring. We are a body of Christ. We are a body of Christ that believes differently, but yet we come together. Because even the UCC, which was formed June 25th, 1957, one person talked about in the minutes of that meeting, when the UCC was formed, there was so much fighting going on in that initial meeting. There was a lot of disagreements, but at the end of the day, they chose to still merge, because the UCC was formed from five different denominations, five including the African American, that denomination, because that was added as one of the strains of the UCC, or one of the denominations that merged to form. That was added 2 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago. But that is like a lot of what I do at Synod, is a lot of voting on things, a lot of plenaries. There's a lot of fun things I get to do. I got to hang out with colleagues I haven't seen in a while. We had a lot of special lunches, and I had a lot of naps. When any moment that I had a little bit of downtime, I would take a nap, because this stuff is hard. Because it gets to be a very long day every day. But there's so many different things, and what I really want us to invite us as a church to think about is how can we go deeper into our faith? How can we go deeper into continuing to become not a brave space as well as a safe space? Because we are very much a safe space. People come to us. They know they will feel welcomed at this church. They know they will be welcome for exactly who they are. But what does brave look like? Because over and over, Karen Georgia Thompson, and all the sermons and all the messages she delivered, she was like, what is the church responsible for now? What is our work now? She even said one of the questions is like, who is a UCC? Who are we called to be right now in this time? And Harmony Creek Church, we are part of the United Church of Christ. We do identify with them on a national level. We are very unapologetically progressive. And I just say, I want us to continue to think of ways to get deeper with that identity. How can we continue to cast the net even wider? And it's not going to be easy. Being the church, doing this hard work of living and following in Jesus' way is not easy. Because part of what it means to be the church is continuing to make the table wider, continuing to build a bigger tent, a tent that includes everyone underneath, even those who may not agree with us. And that is something I still am working through. But those are just some of my thoughts from this past Synod. And I will say that Synod for years has taken place every 2 years. Last Synod, which was in 2023, we voted on Synod becoming every 3 years, but that wasn't going to take effect until after this Synod. So Synod will not take place again until July 2028. And I will say that Synod will be in Cleveland this year. So we actually, as a Heartland Conference, a conference we're a part of, we got to go up on stage and present to the Synod body and everyone that was visiting, because people can go and visit and watch plenaries. They don't have to be a delegate, but you can go and just watch as well. But we present to everyone that Synod's going to be in Cleveland, July 21st through the 28th, 2028. So mark your calendars for that, because I was talking to our association minister, Mimi Chamberlain, for Sanka, and she said that she wants to get 70 people from all over Sanka, our association, Southwest Ohio, Northern Kentucky Association, and some of West Virginia. She wants to get 70 people to go to Synod in 2028, and we still have time. But I think that would be really cool to have that many from our association. And wouldn't it be cool if we had that many just from Harmony? 70 of you to go to Synod. It is an experience, I will say. I love being at Synod, because it reminds me just how amazing of a denomination the UCC is. We go deep. We go deep with our faith. We aren't afraid to be a brave denomination like through our resolutions, that people do see. It goes out to the wider world. It goes out to the wider community. We speak up. We speak against things that are unjust. We speak truth to power as best as we can. And just like, I will just say this, like just some of the resolutions were, there was one that talked about recognizing continuing evolving language of mental health. And that resolution passed 4 conferences in Pennsylvania. They came together to merge, and they became one big conference, and now they're known as the Keystone Conference. There was a resolution to respond to the federal government, our federal government's attack on immigrants, migrants, and refugees, and that one passed. There was a resolution, the response to violence against religious minorities in India, one that was all about declaration of support for Philippine human rights, those in Philippines. And then there was also one that spoke out against and genocide in Palestine. And as I said, that was one of the ones that was the one that had the most debate. There was also a push for a little bit of a change in our governance structure, and it actually was voted down. What they wanted to do was they wanted to give the general minister president a little more power, and she would have the power to hire and pick the associate general minister. But at the time, the way our constitution and bylaws are set up, General Synod usually gets the name of the person who's going to be the associate general minister. Usually it is an uncontested, like there's no one else running for it. Like this year there's one person to vote for. And so of course we voted for her to be our associate general minister. But there was a motion on the floor to have the general minister, who's Karen Georgia Thompson, be the one to pick the associate general minister and take that from the synod. And there was a lot of discussion on that, and it didn't pass. People were very afraid of how there was a lot of talk about how it felt like we were consolidating power to just one person. And that was one that didn't pass. But as I said, there's so much that I could talk about. Because Synod is just such an amazing time, and I love it so much. We stayed at a Marriott in Kansas City, downtown, really fancy hotel with very fancy elevators. And there was a lot of good food, really good barbecue, things outside of all the meetings. And I got to be reunited with people I haven't seen in a while. So Synod was an amazing time, and I'm so glad that I got to talk to you more about it. And so what I would love to do, if you want to talk with me when I'm back from vacation, feel free to reach out if you want to hear more about the resolutions. But I do invite you to go to like UCC General Synod 35, and you can look online to see if you wanted to read the resolutions, if you wanted to look at the Constitution of the UCC, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of information out there that you can find. But thank you so much for letting me speak for almost 25 minutes. So I apologize, a little long-winded. I could have talked for a lot more because there's so much that I could say. But at the end of the day, the biggest thing that I wanted to just say is that I invite us, Harmony Creek Church, I invite us to continue going into the deep with our faith, with our witness, with our love, with our desire for passion, with our desire for justice in this world. How can we go even deeper? And how can we continue to minister and love in the way that Jesus ministered and loved? How can we continue to be an active witness to the world? How can we continue to come alongside our denomination, the UCC? Because I am so proud of our faith community at Harmony Creek Church, and I am proud that we are open and affirming. And I'm also really, really proud we're part of the United Church of Christ, a denomination that is doing things. And I will say thank you to those who donated toward OCWM, the special offering where you were helping delegates get to Synod, because that was very helpful. Some of the special meals they offered the money that you donated helped cover the cost for some of those special lunches and dinners. So I thank you. I thank you for your support, even from Ohio. And so I thank you, and I love all of you. And thank you for listening to me talk about General Synod. So if you want to hear more, feel free to reach out and I will let you know. I will talk to you for hours. I will tell you whatever you want to hear about Synod. But I do invite you to go online as well to kind of check out different things. So much love to all of you, and thank you for listening. Have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. I miss you all, and I will see you all in person next Sunday. So I am on vacation right now. So if you need to reach me, wait until Thursday when I'm back. Okay. Much love to all of you, and remember this. There's a statement in the UCC where they say, no matter who you are, where you are welcome here. I love changing it up a bit and saying, because of who you are welcome here. Hear me say that. And hear me say that you are beloved by God, as you are. And I'm so glad that Harmony Creek Church is part of the United Church of Christ, a denomination that has such a prophetic and strong justice witness in this world. Amen.